And then I remember growing up, so when Ali is emerging, I'm like in my teenage years. And if 3 o'clock came at school, someone said, yeah, hey, 3 o'clock, I'm going to beat your butt, right? So you would get out there, the whole school would be out there. And when Ali came along, I think he saved a lot of people from ass whipping. What happened? 3 o'clock would show up, right? You'd be out there against somebody. And you'd be doing all this talking and dancing around like this, like Ali, moving around. So you never just threw a punch, But, that's I remember that, And so he had a jab that when you look at how many of us came to boxing, like you knock somebody out. But Ali had this jab, bam, 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 to a point early in his career that people felt that he didn't have the power to knock a person out. He was the heavyweight fighter, that the key to him was his jab. It wasn't later on that you say, Ali can hit you really hard. And then the thing of dancing. So you go from jab, 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 which I think is the image, and then the dancing, which is where we always would see the whole thing in terms of Ali up on his toes in the ring. Okay? And keep in mind, this is a heavyweight. Okay? The thing was, could Ali dance for a whole fight? You see? And then there was this point where Ali, you thought he was going to dance, and Ali was come down in the center ring and slug it out with guys. And people say, wow, we never saw that type of Ali. But I wanted to have in the poem the whole thing of jab, jab, and then, the whole thing about beauty is in the poem. And the whole thing about people being too ugly to realize greatness. And some of that is pretty much what I was saying earlier about him speaking out against the war, where people just didn't accept that. And then I think the poem sort of plays on his name. The whole thing of feet of clay, he turns into Ali. And then, and people won't like this. my view about him, Kendrick Lamar, the pimple butterfly, which I just thought is just an awful line. So in my poem, I talk about the whole thing about, beauty and butterfly, turning that in. But I was very much aware of how the word butterfly had recently been used, by a generation, the pimple butterfly. And I said, no, with Muhammad Ali, you've got to go back to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Okay, you've got to claim that. And what happened, the butterfly is a sense of beauty. So you're not going to pimp a butterfly. You see what I'm saying? If you look at how language is key, you play around with a little butterfly floating out here, and you're going to pimp that, then what is your concept in your relationship to beauty? You see what I'm saying? You're going to pimp that too. Okay?
I never heard the expression. What does it mean?
Okay, there's your homework for your generation. You know what I'm saying? Is these are lines that come out through hip hop, and these are award winning. There's nobody making this up. And I looked at that, man. That expression, and I guess it was successful. It stopped me. I said, what is this? And that's the beauty of hip hop. It is that contagious. But then at the same time, as we listen to music, we're doing this. What are we really saying in the language? Don't tell me how many people are clicking onto this, how many people saying they like this and that. What is actually being said here? Okay? And I'm going back, and I'm very aware, when I get my poem, this whole thing of beauty and butterfly, I'm very much aware of that. And I'm very much aware that when we look at Ali, that's a signature aspect of who he is. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Okay? And that's the beauty of him up on his toes, dancing, floating. You don't want to try to pimp that. You don't want to market that. That is on a level, say, of like divine beauty. Okay? Divine grace. And I'm sorry, the pimping, which brings to me a whole sort of like marketing, like pimping a woman. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna put her out there, I'm gonna make money off of this. Oh no, you don't make no money off of this. Okay? And there has to be things in your society that are sacred. There has to be a way that we remember people. And this is why I think when we look at Muhammad Ali, there's a standard there. There's a standard there. And it's not just that he was beautiful to watch, especially when he was young. And I tell you something where media makes a big difference. Many of us, even going further back older than I am, you listen to boxing matches on the radio. Okay? So there's a generation of men. And Jimmy Carter talks about this. Jimmy Carter talks about, young and how his family had the radio and the black people would come up and, follow the fight. And then Joe Louis would win. They would sort of fade away. Then they'd start cheering, but once they got away from Jimmy Carter's house, But what happened, many people listen to fights on the radio. And I remember listening to a lot of early Ali fights on the radio. And you know what caught you? On the radio, the guy's gonna fight. Ali is dancing on his toes. Listen, swings at him. Ali's on the other side of the ring. Yes, he was that fair that you're hearing this. Like, all of a sudden the guy, listen, is swinging. And Ali's over here. And this is a guy who's a heavyweight boxer, not some sort of lightweight featherweight. And when you hear it on the radio, you say, what do you mean he's on the other side of the ring? And when you go back now, back to YouTube and stuff like that, you look at those early fights, okay, and you get a sense for a guy his size, how fast he was. I saw him one time in my life, and it was I came out on one afternoon on Howard's campus, and Muhammad Ali was on the campus, and Muhammad Ali was in a suit, and I tell you, that guy was one of the biggest guys, just in terms of like huge, and I say that in terms of, many of us, we see our athletes, through photographs, we see them on TV, we see them there. When you see some of these individuals, in a suit, you get a real sense of how big they are, and that's where I think when we look at Ali, we'll realize that size, that scope, and that shadow that he placed over an entire generation. And those are the contributions that when you look at athletes, they affect their entire society. So you have a Muhammad Ali, you have a Jackie Robinson, you have a Joe Louis, you have a Jack Johnson. And those are individuals that define the motion of history of African American culture. Things do not, you say, okay, here's Martin Luther King, here's, the NAACP, yeah, but here is Jackie Robinson, here's Joe Louis, here's Muhammad Ali, and they also move our history forward. And so when you talk about, voting rights and things of that sort, yes, a lot of people, risk their life to register somebody to vote, but the power and the courage to even think about voting is given you sometimes by what you see athletes accomplishing on a field or a court or in a boxing ring. A lot of people came of age because of Jack Johnson, because of Joe Louis. Okay? And so when you see Muhammad Ali, he gives you that.